Welcome into Seahawks Today. I am your new and improved host, Will Ortner, and we're going to be talking about the winners and the losers from the Week 1 preseason game against the Raiders. But before we do that, make sure that you go and follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Will Ortner. It's nice and easy for you guys to get there. One, because I would forget myself how to find myself on Instagram and Twitter if I didn't just have at Will Ortner. You're going to want to make sure that you follow me on those because I'm going to be posting tons of Seahawk content and my thoughts and opinions throughout the week. So if you get a chance, go follow me there, and let's get right into the video. All right, so we talked about it. We're going to dive into the winners and the losers from the Seahawks preseason Week 1. And the first winner that I want to talk about was kind of a player that I don't think any of us really expected to be the one that popped off in this position, and that's George Holani, right? The running back out of Boise State got the start. Damien Martinez, I think, was someone that a lot of people were getting ready to look into for this game. He was one of my players to watch, and I should have been talking about George Holani. He came in with a fantastic game. He had 7 carries, 61 yards, obviously had 8.7 yard average. Now, some of that is helped by how well his fullback played as well, but 1 touchdown in the game as well. Remember, that was the touchdown where everyone came in and said, I think he got in. After some deliberation, we found out that George Holani got in, and now he's probably put himself in a good position to make the starting roster. Now, last season, he got some sparing action, but he does feel like the type of player to take advantage of that Kenny McIntosh injury, who's going to be out for the entire season. I think going into the camp, it looked like Holani was on the outside looking in. After that performance in Week 1, I think he might have found himself a nice little contract to stay with the Hawks. The second player that I want to talk about is the wide receiver out of Colorado State. That's Tory Horton. Now, when you looked at this preseason game 1, most of the starters were not going to play in this game, and I don't know if going into it, Horton was viewed as one of those starters. Obviously, Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith and Jigba, MVS, those are guys at that wide receiver position that didn't play. They wanted to get Tory Horton some run, and oh boy, did he run. You can see in this picture right here, he made a couple defenders miss as he scooted his way into the end zone. It became very clear, I think, from the beginning of the game plan that the Hawks were going to force feed Horton. He ended up having 7 targets. Now, he only was able to complete 3 of those passes, but he made the most of all of those opportunities. And then it doesn't get better than a nice little celebration in the end zone where you're jumping up next to blitz, hanging out with the rest of the Seahawk family, hanging out with all the 12s. Now, he did have 31 yards in this game. I would like to see more of those targets thrown to him on those 3 completions be caught and get more yards. 31 on 7 targets isn't necessarily the best average when it comes to catching in yards for how much he was fed. At the end of the day, though, it's his first action after coming off his injury in college. I'm pretty proud of how well the young kid did. Now we're going to jump into our third player here. And look, I'm Will Ortner, and I'm a former O-lineman. I'm always going to give love to the fat boys. Now, Grey Zabel, it's probably not fair for me to call him a fat boy because that boy is pure muscle. He came out, and I was very impressed with his performance, and PFF was as well. They had him graded out at over an 81% blocking grade. He had 11 pass blocking snaps, 0 pressures. Now, I understand that he's playing the guard position, so it's not as pivotal in pass pro as it would be for, say, a Abraham Lucas or a Charles Cross. But what Zabel showed to me in this game is that he's going to be a player that can hold it down. Not only did he perform well in the pass pro, his run blocking helped spur George Holani to have some big runs as well. He was getting out, moving. Clint Kubiak, you want to run the football in this new offense. He wants to use those wide outside zone schemes. Zabel was able to reach the defensive end multiple times on runs to that left side that sprang for big runs for Holani, and even Damien Martinez had a decent run or two because of what Zabel was able to do at that guard position, something that Seattle has not seen in a very, very long time. And then my last player that honestly was just maybe the biggest winner of the weekend, making fullbacks great again, Robbie Ouzts, the fullback out of Alabama. Now, look, We're going to go into his stats here in a second, but before we do, I want to make sure that all of you understand when it comes to the fullback position, he is essentially an extra blocker. And what a lot of teams in the NFL, Seahawks included, have done in the past is you take that third string tight end and you put him into that fullback position because everyone can play every position nowadays. That's not true. Sometimes you need a specialist, and that's what Robbie Ouzts is. We've got his bio here from Alabama, so you know he's a born winner, finds ways to get the job done. He only ended up having 8 snaps in this game, but man, were they impressive. 2 of the big runs for Holani, including that touchdown, were sprung by Ouzts. And what most impressed me was that they let him go one-on-one with a defensive end. That means Ouzts is blocking someone that's whole entire job is to try and beat him at the point of attack, probably outweighs him, probably has a longer reach than Ouzts. Ouzts doesn't care. He comes in, dominates. On the George Holani run in particular, he took on the defensive end all by himself, gave his running back a 2-way go. Now the running back, Holani in this case, has to beat the safety, but he has 2 different spots he can choose from. Safety picked the wrong hole. Holani bounces it to the outside, and he gets in the end zone. And that would not be possible without Robbie Ouzts, and I cannot wait to see how he performs this year. Now, if you want to join the fam over here at Seahawks Today, make sure that you go and subscribe to the channel. We're going to have videos coming at you every single freaking day. Plus, this Friday, we'll be hopping on a watch party for preseason game number 2. You don't want to miss any of that. You won't miss it if you subscribe to the channel. Now, unfortunately, we do have to talk about some losers in the preseason week 1. Now, the nice thing about me is, in this case, I like to blame a lot of team issues or group issues as opposed to blaming individual players. Unfortunately, one is going to get my ire just a tiny bit. So let's go into the pass defense. I was not impressed with how Seattle handled the passing attack of Las Vegas. Now, remember, this is a Pete Carroll team that they're not going to be built specifically on an air raid style of system. They want to run the ball and then use play action pass to find open targets. You saw it for years in Seattle, right? Well, this Raiders team, they threw it all over the Seahawks, specifically in the second half. Now, there might be some of you that are saying, Will, hey, 25 for 40, 280 passing yards. Like, that's not that bad, especially for a preseason game. Yeah, well, Cam Miller, the third string quarterback, was 6 for 7 in this game, and he had a touchdown, right? He had an over 150 complete or passer rating when you come into this. So, to me, the secondary then seems weak, right? You need to have a better pass defense, especially in clutch moments, not let Vegas get back into this game, not let Cam Miller throw the ball all over the yard. Injuries happen in the NFL. Trust me. So when Seattle has injuries in that secondary, do you trust some of these backups to come into that game? I don't know. The second loser for the preseason, I'm going to have to say it's the whole team. 9 penalties. If you watch the watch party here on Seahawks Today with Colin and myself, you'd have heard us every other play, it seemed like, be like, oh, there's another flag. Nice gain. Oh, there's a flag. Oh, there's a flag. And when you are playing undisciplined football and you get penalties, they kill drives or they help jumpstart the other team's drives as well. And a couple of them, hey, man, I'm all for celebrating. Trust me, I celebrated after the last watch party. I had a great time. But if we're going to celebrate, let's do it in a way that doesn't get us into penalty situations and put us at a disadvantage. Now, again, I already kind of alluded to it. You might be saying to yourself, Will, calm down. It's just the preseason. Penalties happen. It's game 1. Here's the thing. We saw it when Pete Carroll was the head coach. We saw it a little bit last year, especially in big games like when we lost to Marsh's Giants. What killed us in that game? It was the Seahawks penalties, and that kept drives going for the Giants. Every time you thought you got to stop, oh, flag comes out. They keep their drive going, and they end up in the end zone. You need to find a way to limit these types of mistakes because they are going to kill you in the long run. If Seattle is able to figure that out, trim down the penalties, I'm not asking for you to be perfect, but if you can get that 9 to a 7 to a 5 by the time you're out of the preseason, in the regular season, hopefully you're keeping it at that 5 limit or less, I think you're going to be just fine this year. And now, unfortunately, I said I don't like to do this. I'm going to have to do it. And it makes me feel even worse because I'm doing it to a guy who's kind of from the left coast, and that's Damien Martinez. I talked about it in the pregame of the watch party, how excited I was to watch him play. I talked about it at the beginning of this show where I was hyping him up going into this game. Hey, man, 7th round pick. He's a steal. He runs hard. He runs downhill. I watched him at Oregon State. He was dominant at Oregon State. He helped get them into the position where we were talking about them potentially being a Pac-12 champion in that last year of the real Pac-12 championship. He goes over to Miami. Hey, I get it. Cam Ward's doing well, so you might use him a little bit less. He ends up falling in the draft. You get him as a steal. He should come in and dominate, right? That's wrong. He ended up having less than 2 yards per carry in this game. He looked a little bit lost. And unfortunately, when you have someone like George Holani who comes in and absolutely tears the game apart, it makes me feel like Damien Martinez wasn't ready for prime time. Now, I do think that there is time for him to grow. Remember, he is a rookie. And this is his first time in live game action. Sometimes, too, the defense has a better call. So I'm giving him excuses here, but at this point, I thought he would go into this year, especially after the McIntosh injury, as your third back. Honestly, with how big, physical, and strong he is, I was thinking he might be your red zone back, depending on how you wanted to use Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker in those situations. It's been kind of Charbonnet the last couple of years. I thought, hey, maybe it might be Damien Martinez. Unfortunately, after this game, he's kind of fallen down a little bit in my depth chart. He's still going to make the team, but I don't know if you're going to see a whole lot of him on anything that isn't special teams. Now, overall, I don't want to be a negative Nancy here. I do think that the Seahawks had a pretty good performance. It's preseason week 1. When I'm having to strive to try and find issues and takeaways and losers, that's always going to be a good thing. And, hey, who knows? Maybe Martinez will see this and the rest of the defense will see this and say, hey, we're going to shut that Will Ortner up, and we're going to make sure that we have a better performance against Kansas City. Now, you don't want to shut me up because I'm going to have so much Seahawks content flying around on my X and on my Instagram. Make sure that you go and you give me a follow there. On X, I'm going to be tweeting out a bunch of my opinions. You're going to see some highlight videos as well. And don't be shocked if you see some Will walking and talking, giving some hot Seahawks takes over on Instagram. Until next time, y'all have a great day.